Hello everyone, welcome to the Design Atelier live stream number 2. Yes, this is attempt number 2. We're doing some more tests. Last time around we had technical difficulties. We didn't have enough bandwidth, I guess, and our stream had massive buffering. Hopefully this time around that's not going to happen. We're going to address two questions for this live stream, and we'll try to keep it short and see how we can reach to a format that's entertaining to each and everyone. And if you would like to chime in, just send your questions in the chat. If you have a watch that you want me to visually dissect, just let me know, put it in the chat, and we'll try and see what we can appreciate on these watches, whatever watch it may be. Now, the first question we want to address is coming from SN95, who had a comment in the previous video. He agrees on the quality of Seiko. The problem with Seiko at the moment is that they kept their quality, which is, of course, something that we expect from Seiko. They are robust and they are cheap, well, affordable. Let's not say cheap, because when we say cheap, sometimes it denotes a lesser quality, but they are a lot more affordable than other watch companies. And we've known how Seiko manufactures. It's a vertical manufacturing business model, so they can pretty much manufacture every sort of component for themselves. However, what we've seen in this year is their dramatic increase of their prices, especially for their prospects line. Basically, what they did is they separated the prospects line and raised their prices compared to their normal Seiko line. And then they relegated the lower end to the Seiko V line of watches. Now, that's something that we really can't find fault in Seiko. It's their business model, so they can do whatever they want. However, that brings us a lasting effect compared to other micro brands, because now Seikos are even less of an option compared to micro brands. Just looking at the Seiko Prospects line, it's now ramped up in prices. Let's take one example with the recent release that they had. Let's look at the Captain Willard. Now, the Captain Willard is a very nice watch. It's unique. It has its own quirks, so to speak. If we look at the shape of the Captain Willard, we see like a sort of a tonneau case that's going on. But this curve right here is very interesting and unique, and they pretty much cornered this design language, especially when we see a watch with the crown at the 4 o'clock position. We know that it's coming from Seiko, right? It's a signature that they have. And with the materials that they use in the Captain Willard, the design, the tapering of the bracelet and the bands, it's very, very nice looking. And we cannot mistake it from the Captain Willard. It didn't divert too much in the design language that they originally had. They had some changes here and there. I like the Marine Master hands right here. The Marine Master hands here is really, really, really tasty, so to speak. I love that red dot there. Now, this Captain Willard is selling for over $1,000. Back in the day, I could still remember Prospex divers do not have such a high price tag. We don't want to talk so much about price tags here, but these same design language, these same things that we see in Seiko, is now being less and less of an option if we compare it to, say, Zelos watches or to a Christopher Ward. Yes, Christopher Ward is also pretty much high in price, but it's now an alternative compared to Seiko Pro specs. And that's what many enthusiasts are taking um, issue about right now. Like, if we look at other micro brands, we see Long Island watches are also offering even better quality materials. It's the recent releases in Seiko this year. Actually, the more interesting ones came from Grand Seiko, which is not really from Seiko proper, because we most of us know that Grand Seiko now is a totally different company altogether, and they are readily more attractive to the higher tier enthusiasts and consumers. But for the for the Seiko, who's like playing around the under $1,000 range, we now have less options on the Seiko side. But on the microbrand side, we have Dan Henry, we have Zarek, we have Undone, and these are now true options that you can explore instead of looking for a Seiko. Now, before we go to the other question that we want to address, well, let's say hello to our viewers in the chat. We see Celine Driver. Celine Driver, Dane is always like our loyal viewer, and honestly, I'm a loyal viewer of Celine Driver. So please subscribe to his channel. He has like very nice insights, not only with the in the watch world, but also in the college football and football altogether sports scene. And he has some very insightful ideas and rants that you can enjoy, certainly. Thank you so much for supporting us, Six Killer 2121. We have Trunks here. We have Thomas Burnett. Thomas Burnett, I'm going to address one of your comments later. Paul M, thank you. Good evening. And thanks for dropping by. Julian Benoit, good evening. Thank you. And of course, going back to Thomas Burnett, Thomas Burnett commented on a recent video that we had, the last one actually, the Omega Seamaster video. Thomas Burnett says he loves the leak update, actually. He loves the lollipop hands. I actually love that too. The lollipop hands is like amazing. I like that. And the new movement, the next Seamaster 300 Master coaxial is going to be Master chronometer if we follow the leak. Now, let me just show you some of the images. Of course, this didn't come from me. Actually, Thomas A posted this in the Discord group that we are in, but he also got it from the What You Seek forum. Now, in the leak information, we could see a number of changes that we are seeing from the Seamaster 300, the heritage line Seamaster 300 Master coaxial, going into the Seamaster 300 Master chronometer. Now, some people commented in the video that the Seamaster 300 Master coaxial has been around for a while, so it's really a change compared to the heritage line with 1957. Yes, I know that. It's not a mistake. We were talking about the current line going to the next generation that they are supposedly leaking. Now, we are only a few days left before the 2020 turns to 2021. I don't even know if they pushed this back, but it clearly says there in the information, the leaked photos, that they intended this to be released on 2020. So hopefully, maybe in the next few days, we could still see that. Otherwise, they'll prove me wrong or a liar in a way. Or hopefully not. But many of the aesthetic changes has been listed, and I tried to cover that as much as I could in the video. However, there are some things that we did not cover in the video that I later found out in the forums. Interestingly, if we look at the dial of the, let's tilt this away. There we are. If we look at the dial, there's some more, or look at the watch itself. There's something more going on there. Actually, I didn't mention it in the video, but there's some tapering, considerable tapering on the bracelet. Some of you might like that. Some of you may not, but to me, I like it. I like the tapering. I failed to mention that. I should have mentioned that, but maybe in the review when it actually hits, we're going to mention that. But that tapering is gorgeous. I love that. And you see this, and that's a clear difference compared to the center link that's completely straight. That's visual interest right there. There's now triangles instead of like just straight lines, you know, and that actually helps the line of sight. If you look at your peak here going down to the taper, it's almost one straight line. You barely notice the elbow here, which is a nice and welcome addition, at least from my point of view. Now, another thing that we did not mention is that the numerals are more likely going to be sandwich numerals. So, and that's something that is dividing people in the forums, whether they like that or not. They're already divided with the sandwich indices, and now they have the sandwich numerals as well. And some didn't like that it looked like Panerai, but let's be honest here, Panerai does not hold that kind of font style. Actually, that style of font, many is present not just in many watches, but in other media and military fonts. And the thing about that is, it actually looks more natural looking, more lively looking, because it now has more curvy strokes. It has that vibe of a handwritten feel to it now. It's a little more lively, and it has a little bit more character now. And Thomas Burnett also mentioned that the hour hand now has loom. I didn't remember that it didn't have a loom. I guess in the older Seamaster heritage, the broad arrow is just like a broad arrow, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, Thomas. But at least in the current line already, it has the loom. It has loomed our broad arrow hour hand. And of course, the lollipop. I love that lollipop seconds hand, and that's something that we can look forward to, and hopefully in 2020 we will still see that. It's currently raining outside. Hopefully you don't hear that in the stream. Another thing that we failed to mention is that they said here that the new dome sapphire crystal is redesigned. Okay, we know that that's a boxed sapphire crystal, but it seems also many are remarking that the whole profile of the case is actually a little bit narrower, you know, and that's the problem that I have, since I cannot handle, or I do not have enough opportunities to handle these watches on hand. I really can't make comparison. So hopefully our viewers can chime in if that really is true, that this is a thinner movement. Yeah. So let's mention some of the comments in the chat. Celine Driver is saying that I'm generally okay with the tapering or non-tapering bracelet or strap. I just don't like drastic tapering, like from 22 to at the lug to 18 at the clasp. Yeah, that's too drastic. I don't like that either. Actually, I just want subtlety, and actually subtlety is enough for me most of the time. Thomas Burnett says it's more alike to the current Submariner in shape now. Yes, actually, I like that. Not because it it looks like the Submariner. But let's be honest, it does look like the old Submariners. I think I covered that in our Submariner video. And back in the time, they had those lollipop tipped hands, and they're they're quite nice to look at. You know, it's a refreshing difference compared to the pointy hands of the hours and minutes. Six Killer 2121 says another live stream to watch and enjoy in my final hours of work. I you did say that earlier. You were going to work earlier when you were in Chris's stream. It's amazing that you're still at work at the moment. Kevin S says, I believe that the hands always had loom. Okay. I thought so too, but I could be wrong. I need to broaden my knowledge in Omega Seamaster, and I should be, because I still have the Omega Seamaster as one of my go-to and list watch goals. So I have to like really read up on many of the thing is, it's just a big history. There's so much variance out there. It's the same as the Rolex Submariner. Thomas Burnett says, I think that it does currently have loom on the hour hand. You're correct. Okay, right. Kevin S, is the new release from Omega? Yeah, well, it's not yet released. These are photos coming from some AD out there that well, or someone who was able to get photos of these pre-release notes for ADs, and it looks legit. Like last time, like the Submariner release, before it actually got launched, in the forums there were circulating, like I think on a day before, there are like pre-release notes that got leaked online, and it looks very similar to this one. Hopefully it's legit. I cannot really guarantee that it's legitimate, but I took the risk and made the video anyway. Nice. Okay. Kevin S says, was going to buy the white dial Seamaster Professional 300, but also like the green dial Aquaterra. Yes. My goal, or the one in my list, is the Seamaster. Let's try and pull that up. We can do that. The one in my list is the Seamaster 300 Pro. The one in my list is this one. The one with the silver dial and the blue bezel. I actually held this in my hand. I actually tried this on, and I'm just in love with it. I like it on the rubber, and many are suggesting, yeah, you know what, just get the one with the bracelet and then buy the rubber strap. Okay, I can actually do that too. This one. Oh no, not this one. Where's the other one? Silver dial. This one. Yes. I just love it in that combination of blue strap on the silver dial. It's something that that tickles my fancy. But if it comes in a bracelet, if I could afford that, buy a bracelet and the rubber strap, sure, I'll do that too. And hopefully I can like gather the funds to buy one. The thing about it is still like what others complain about is the helium escape valve. That's, I don't know what to think of it. I don't know if it's like something that I like or I don't like. In a design standpoint, I prefer mine with symmetry. You know, if the helium escape valve is there, let me think. If the helium escape valve is there, and if the crown is on the 4 o'clock position, maybe I would like love that better. It's kind of like a marriage of a Seiko and Omega watch that I'm thinking about. But I guess that's where I could place my visual taste. I guess that's the one that's really putting me off from that helium escape valve. But you know what? I mean, I can live with it. If I was able to buy this, I can live with that. And that dial is is just so crisp. Like the images, they can already tell you how crisp they are, but when you see it in person, it's really unfathomable how crisp these lines are. Maybe you need a microscope to see how they are really, but to the naked eye, it's really clean, and I love that. In the Necton, it was reversed, and because in this one, the top portion is kind of glossy, but the grooves underneath are matte. In the Necton, it was reversed. It's the top one that's matted, and underneath is glossy, which is amazing for Omega to do. Yeah, one day maybe I'll be able to afford that. Many are pointing out also the James Bond version is also something of an option, but I didn't like the swirly uh, dial. I want the wavy dial. That's something that's really appealing to me more. Big Wrist is here. Thank you so much for supporting our second live stream. So far, so good. The connection seems to be excellent. If you're having any problems with the sound or anything, just let me know. Okay. Kevin S. Looks great in the blue rubber, but I would get the bracelet. It's not all that more expensive. Only a few $100s. Yes, actually, yes. That's I could spare. If I could like buy that, I would probably buy both because why not? You know. I think you would notice it after a while. Okay. Trust me, when you barely notice the escape valve after a while. Okay. Okay. I'll trust all of you. It's still 4 grand that I need to like save up, and that's actually one of the things that we mentioned in Chris very early live stream earlier. Chris, that's too early. He mentioned that, and that what's the goals that we have for 2021. And when I first heard of the question, I thought of it like closely. I think I don't have a grail watch to uh, or a goal watch to aim for. And when I look back at my collection, I was kind of underwhelmed. And yeah, people are saying that you have like a great collection and all that. I have like a ton of Zellos now, which is like great. I love them all. And that's another thing that we want to talk about. We're going to talk about that later. But I was really underwhelmed. Aside from the Seamaster, the Speedmaster that I have, and the Submariner, maybe I want something that's really going to be a staple of the collection. I want another one because I do have some watches that are there just for the sentiments of the trip. But maybe my taste is like changing, and I really do prefer a watch that I would really like to have permanently in my collection. But again, I wasn't like really thinking about my collection that often, especially nowadays. We have other priorities, of course, but we'll see if that's going to happen this year or maybe next year or 2 years from now. Okay, the helium escape valve doesn't bother me at all, and that's nice to hear, Kevin. Yeah, and many remark that they don't. It doesn't bother many people. So maybe in time when you wear it, I could live with it. I could live with it. My father has the version of the Seamaster with the blue dial. Looks great. Very comfortable strap too. Yes, very nice. The white dial also. I understand why Random Rob likes that, and like I think it was Kevin here who said that too. But that silver dial blends in more with the case, which is what I really like. And hopefully, when I actually get the piece, I'll be able to do justice with it in the review. To me, it looks better on the strap and the metal instead of the metal bracelet. Okay, yeah, I agree with that too. But we can have both. One nice thing about Omega, the prices are still reasonable. Yes, Dane is correct. The prices are still reasonable. For what features that you get, it is still reasonable. Because if you think about it, you that's completely almost a completely different price range from Rolexes, and yet they have the helium escape valve, They have these ceramic dials and bezels. They have um, what do you call it? Where's it now? Now I'm blanking out. Okay. Oh, and they have the master coaxial. Yeah, there you go. Master coaxial movement, which is many would argue is better than what Rolex is putting out. But I'm not gonna dive into that argument unless I'm like truly prepared with my information. But that's what I hear. And look, I could see the movement. I could see the movement. That's a big plus for me because the Submariner, I couldn't see the movement. That's the problem. And I love the wave pattern that they it's not guilloche. The wave pattern that they have on the rotor, the decoration, it's just lovely. And these are com- they're tested multiple times before they even get to your hands, which is like amazing to see. Actually, that's what Omega's business model is. They just want to one up Rolex in quality, and that's the thing too. From the leak images, we mentioned that it's going to have the 8915. Is it 8915? What was it? 8912, sorry. It's going to have the 8912. And many in the forums mentioned that this is actually a more quiet movement. They are saying that in the 8800 movement of Omega, they could hear the rotor spinning. And many actually like that. There are some who remark because that's actually because of the ceramic ball bearings that they had. And I can get why they appreciate that because if you hear, Celine can attest to that. If you hear the engine of a Celine Mustang, it's completely different compared to a stock vanilla Mustang. And that mechanical uh, ambiance, that mechanical vibe of hearing the difference is amazing. And in the watch world, it's kind of like the same. When we fidget with our bezels, you know which bezel is coming from Omega. You know which bezel is coming uh, from Zelos. You know which is coming from a Seiko, right? And you know which one is coming from Timex, which is like terrible. In some that I've seen at least. But I digress. I don't want to bash on Timex, but that's the beauty of these movements and intricacies, and actually the beauty of forums too, because now you hear and see and read these many different preferences. I love that. I love that. Let's go back to the chat a little bit here. Uh, how about Grand Seiko? Yes, actually, I I dabbled a little bit in or did some reading on Grand Seiko. Still, the Snowflake is the one that speaks to me. I seem to be like that kind of guy that likes both both the sports dive watch types of watches and dressy watches. Many would not have a use for a dressy watch anymore because I saw this article. I think it was from Ariel Adams that the dress watches are kind of slowly dying down because of the way our CEOs look now. They don't wear suits that require a dressy watch, and we don't have, especially in this time of our crisis, we don't even have like social gatherings that are uber formal for you to even like use your dress watch. But I mean, we're watch enthusiasts. We'll find a way to wear our dress watches, and I have like weekly meetings that require me to wear a suit, so a dress watch would still have a use for me. And I have Seikos and maybe a Grand Seiko in the future, if if I could afford one, because the nearest one that I could afford is the nearest one that I really like, but I couldn't afford is like what, $7,000. That's a lot of money for me, especially for a Grand Seiko. but I want a spring drive. A spring drive is something that's on my list. On my list. My mission as Mr. Zealous is complete. Another recruit. I don't know who Dane is talking about here, but he's probably talking about me. And yes, I am now a complete Zealous fan. You know that you're a Zealous fan when you're checking the Zealous Timekeeper forum every day. And I have three, and I'm actually saving up something to buy another one, maybe a Sky Raider, because everybody has a Sky Raider, and I want into. But that's not the only reason, of course. You know I like my Sapphire display casebacks, and that display caseback that they had loom, and that's amazing. I love that, and I think that's going to be my second manual wind watch, especially that you could see the movement. I have a manual wind, a Speedy Mark II, but you don't see the movement. I really came close to buying a display case back for it, but I'm not sure if that dealer is like reputable, and I didn't pull the trigger. My current grail is an Omega Speedmaster from the moon to Mars. Yes, Dane has mentioned this in a couple of his videos. These are the Omegas that have like the distinct red subdial on the dial, which is pretty neat. Maybe I could put that in one of the videos. There was one who requested that I make a Moonwatch video or a Speedmaster iterations or special editions video. Maybe I can do that one day. I'll put it on the list. Hey Chris, nice to have you here. Jean-Claude Weaver, yes, you finally caught me online. So far so good, excellent connection. It seems to me that the setting that I have for this stream is set. I think I had the setting last time was way too high quality, or the canvas is actually too big. Maybe it's having trouble rendering the stream, and it seems to be okay this time around. By the way, good morning, evening to everyone in the chat. Yeah, okay, there you go. Thomas is still here. SM95, nice to have you. We just talked about your comment, so hopefully we'll just like catch up on that on the replay. Yes, Dane is in the Celos group every day. I am too. And Dane, did you see that he is now teasing the Swordfish 43, was it? Is it the 43? He had the white dial and the black indices, which looks sweet. Looks sweet. Yes, the snow. Yeah, actually, also we have Chris here from the Watch Lounge. Subscribe to his channel. He has some really nice things in store for you guys if you're a avid fan of watch reviews and like high-end watches and you want to see a review about it. The Watch Lounge has something in store in the next few weeks for you, and hopefully we will get to see that. Actually, you started seeing it already. He started getting those high-end watches like the Ernst Benz that he just got in. Hopefully I can get into that too, but that's still something that we need to hash out. But those are really good watches. I actually looked into it, Chris. They really are good looking watches, and I would love to see them in person. They may be a little too big on my wrist, but they're aviation watches. Most of them are like aviation watches, so they're meant to be that. Yeah. So again, subscribe to the Watch Lounge, subscribe to Celine Driver, subscribe to our regulars here. They have been supporting me, and they've supported my channel reach this growth in the past few months, and this is like the least that I could do. Please support their channel. They've been doing these watch reviews because they love doing it. Bobby Legs actually has a quote. a tagline for that with every video. But it's not just Bobby Legs, Celine Driver, and the Watch Lounge. They're doing this for fun. And when they're doing something, and when someone is doing something for fun, it's going to be authentic, genuine, and fun and interesting. Yes, Chris was saying that he actually scored a collaboration with Saltzman's jeweler in his area, so he's going to be getting some pieces that he can review, which is like pretty neat. I live here for to those who don't know, I live here in Aruba. We only have like what, 3 4 ADs here, so it's really uh, not that easy for me to get these watches to review. I'm really happy that Elshan from Zealous Watches is really like sending me a couple of pieces, a number of pieces already. I have like 3 to review, and it's amazing to have that opportunity. And the rest of the watches that I get to review are really either I bought it and then resold it, like that. What was it again? That Star King that I reviewed recently. I actually bought that and tried it on. I really liked it. It has the same movement as the Bulova that I really wanted to buy back in the day, and seeing that Star King can offer it at a lower price and with better materials. Come on, like these Chinese manufacturers are catching up. Yes, Rick. Rick on Watches is here. Nice to have you in the stream. Yes, we are in Aruba. It's kind of rainy today, which is uncharacteristic. It's normally sunny here. Even when we have like hurricanes, we're in the sweet spot. We don't really get hit that often. It is rainy today, and it did stop. So hopefully you didn't hear that much in the in the stream. What else? Thomas says the spring drive movement epitomizes Grand Seiko. I can't get along with the snowflake too much though, for some reason. Yeah, it's when you say spring drive, you automatically think Grand Seiko. Although Seiko proper also uses some spring drive, I think in their prospect line, and that's actually something that attracted me also. Their spring drive diver. That's actually something that maybe I could get into. Let's see if we can look into that really quick. Again, that's the beautiful Seamaster. I love that. And when you see this in person, you just want to have a loop. You know, you just want to have a loop with you to see it. Really nice. Okay, but enough with the Seamaster. Uh, Seiko Spring Drive. Let's see what happened there. Seiko Spring Drive Diver. There was one that had like a power reserve. Ah, I think this is. Oh no, this is the Grand Seiko one. I think this one. Yes. I saw this before, and I was thinking maybe it could be something that I could explore as a. Where is it now? Ooh, yeah, you could see some of the robots that I have here. Well, that's annoying. I couldn't find it. Let's see if that works. Okay, here we are. Now, this, I don't know what it is, but this hand right here, this massive hour hand, just looks beautiful to me. I guess it's just too in your face, or it's because it's almost the same as the indices, right? That really speaks to me that it's really connected to each other. And I love that hour hand. It's kind of weird that I kind of like that because I don't normally associate my watch preferences based on an hour hand, but I like it. I just like it so much. I guess that's the beauty of appreciating art and visual aesthetics because you just don't know which one would appeal to you and which one won't. You know, and because that's like so big, you barely notice the second hand. You barely notice this either, which is something that is kind of weird to me because like there's like so much space here, and then there's like clutter there. You know, but I can live with it, and it's like a professional spring drive, right? Diver. I like it. I like also this polished edge. It's just gorgeous. I could only imagine this in person. Really nice. I would love that. Okay, let's go back to the chat. I love my Grand Seiko snow. Oh yeah, I forgot. Dane has a snowflake. Dane has a snowflake. He reviewed that before. I need to go back to that video and see and what spring drive or what Grand Seiko can offer me. This, besides the snowflake too. Watch in Time is also here. Hello, I actually like the titanium bracelet. Yes, on the snowflake. Yeah, Grand Seiko. Hopefully they can like make up all of the bracelet issues that we've been mentioning about. Grand Seiko is like really awesome. Finishing is like top notch. It's just that their bracelet are like sometimes lacking. That's what I hear. And actually, I've seen one, and it does feel low quality. Low quality. They are solid though, but you could you could have better bracelet, or you can find better bracelets on other brands. Let's just say that. Oh, and the bracelet is fine according to Dane, and the butterfly clasp and the pin and collar setup is horrible. Yeah, there you go. Rick on Watches says the Grand Seiko is high beat or spring drive the way to go. You know, I've seen the high beat Grand Seikos. I really like the spring drive because I mean it's it's a spring drive. It's different, and I don't have one. I guess like Rick can attest to that because he's like experienced so many watches, and Rick also has a killer collection of high end haute horology watches. Like you can scour the internet whenever he has a stream and whatnot. They Amin reviews has interviewed him before, if I'm not mistaken. That was him. That reviewed or interviewed Rick with his collection. Okay, let's see. Watching Time says the GS are both either spring drives or high beats. The thing, I think spring drives are better than the real, uh, are better. That's the real deal with GS. Yes, GS. GS should have gone with screws. Yeah, I mean why? They could do that, but wait. Has there been any Seiko that used screws for their bracelets, for their links? Chime in the chat. Let me know. JR is also chiming in. Your channel is the most underrated watch channel on the platform. Really appreciate the narration and production put in. Thank you so much, JR. The thing is, that's the only thing that I could like bring to the watch platform, to the watch category, because I can't handle so many watches like the other folks can. But so far, what I could have, I'm happy that you guys appreciate it. Thank you. Setting driver pin and collar setup was created by a by a sadist who hates humanity. Yeah, I mean, if you could go with screws, I mean, say for example, Long Island watches. They could do screws. If they could do that, why can't Seiko do it? I mean, why? If Mark can do it, Seiko, for all their resources, can do it themselves. They could probably even manufacture their own pins and screws. Jason, what are your thoughts on the Tudor P01 from a design perspective? There we are. Okay, that's a good one. Let's move to our table cam once again. P01. I've talked about this before, but I've never been able to uh, show it in camera. P01. Let's get one. This looks okay. I recognize that there is some hate happening with or going on with the P01. Now it doesn't want to copy the thing for me. Let's do it one more time. Come on. No, it doesn't want to bring it. Bear with me here. Let's see if I could do it like from here. No, it doesn't want either. Okay, let's just wing it. Sometimes technology like doesn't want to cooperate. There we are. Okay. P01. Let's talk about that shape first. The shape is not just interesting, but it's unique. We've never seen a diver that incorporates two aesthetic languages. We've seen vintage divers. When you associate vintage divers as a diver from the decades of old, you normally would associate them with lugs, long lugs, right? I don't know if that's a preference of current watch enthusiasts at the moment, but having those long lug horns, that's normally what we associate with vintage divers. The Tudor P01, from what I could gather, is actually a prototype design that they actually manufactured. That's where some of the controversy is coming from, because many people say that it's lazy. And look at this, it has the 4 o'clock crown, which is what they copied Seiko, and then also the crown guards and all that. But let's just imagine that they did not copy Seiko, right? If you look at the flow of the flow of this watch from here going through here, that's a long strip of line that curves gradually to the lugs. I've never seen that in a watch. But that's actually what makes it appealing to me, because look at this curve here. It's almost like a straight line. And then there you have like that elongated like curve protruding up outward to the crown. That is very interesting. Something that I've never seen before in other watches. I guess the beauty of the P01 for me is because of, in reference to other watches, it's quite unique. Even though you could still see the familiar hints, the familiar um, traits of a dive watch. You have the bezel, you have the, let's clear that out. You have the familiar indices, the circle markers, and of course you have the snowflake hands. I love that too. So that's unmistakably Tudor, right? It has all the traits of a Tudor, but at the same time, it doesn't look like any other watch out there. And of course, what I like about it is like its mechanism, its clamping mechanism here is actually integrated to the lug gap. I've never seen that either. It reminds me of the what you call it, the one I recently reviewed, the glycine airmans, because they had like those knobs that clamps on to the bezel. Of course, it's a gimmick. It is a gimmick because you have to like really remove it to like set it. Uh, but we're not really trying to be efficient here. The original design, the original concept is meant to be like a robust military grade uh, diver that's need to be set before you actually go into your mission. I don't care about that. At For this design to have that clamp on the lug to me is so efficient because it's something that normally a watch would really not care about. It's the lug width. The only time that you're going to care about the lug width is when you want to change the strap. But now it has some sort of function to it, and you have to like um, bend it like so that you could unlock it. I like that. And of course, you have this, I don't know what to call it, but it's the actual extension or the beginning of the bracelet. Now this actually becomes part of the watch because it's the same brushing, it's the same finish as the watch, except for the polished ratcheting or clamping lugs, and that really makes it look so tough because it's brushed, no, not so polished in areas, and then you have like the matte finished dial. It all of that, all of all of those things add up to something that's very interesting. And of course, who's gonna dive with a leather strap? We're not gonna dive with the leather strap, but we like it anyway. You know? Okay, I see some messages there. I forgot to um, remove my notifications there for the next time for sure. Let's go back to the chat. Watch time for the reasons Jason is brilliantly detailing all the renders. It's like a Power Ranger watch on the wrist. But I agree. I like the design. It's like a Power Ranger in the wrist. Is it? I guess it's like really big. Uh, we have these Kamen Riders in Japan. I used to watch those. It's like a buckle, a belt buckle on your wrist. It's so big. It's bigger than G Shocks. Well, I guess this is like approaching the G Shock territory. It's really thick. Um, Thomas Burnett says, "Watch it time." Yes, it was a love straight away. I just needed money. Okay, Thomas Burnett. I think you can find one at a good price. If they're still talking about the P01, yeah, probably. Rick, P01 is not my vibe. You know, honestly, for Rick, I don't see Rick liking the P01. It's just too industrial to me, I think. It's not your taste, Rick. Your taste is more like elegant, classy, and interesting complications. I think that's where your taste is. But that's what makes this hobby so interesting. Many choices for many tastes. Yes, that is true. That is true. And it's interesting also to see people's preferences. Like Rick, for example, he has a certain. You think that Rick has a certain preference, but then you realize he has like a Grand Seiko, right? You would think that he was like more of a Swiss guy, but then he has like a Moser. Well, Moser is still Swiss, but I mean it's an independent rather, you know. Watching time, Jason. What do you think of Ollech and Wise? I think it's Ways. New Navichron and the reborn oceanographs. I saw the Navichron. Um, I saw that earlier, but I couldn't quite put it. Let's look it up. Hopefully, I can look it up better this time around. Where was it now? Ooh, couldn't find it. Uh, I saw it earlier. I maybe I could like make a video about that. Okay, here it is. Warning round. Yeah. Okay, maybe this is the last one that we could mention for tonight. Okay, let's see what I feel with that. First of all, what speaks to me here is like the faux patina. You could hear fireworks already. Table cam. There we are. So you could see the faux patina here. Immediately, that's something that could either turn people off or not. But that's something interesting. How come it has this loom plot here? I don't know what that's for. Huh. I just saw that. That's neat. But it must be for something, right? Maybe watching time can harp on that. What is this thing? Oh, what is that thing about? Because it has like a definite marker there that's out of place. I don't know what that is, but it must be for some sort of function. And you could notice also that they have like running tracks from the 12 to the 4 o'clock position that's offset from compared to the others. I guess it's like a diving or a timing mechanism that you could see there. Now, I really don't like how they clutter the top part of the watch. This is something that's a pet peeve, I guess, for me, because if you have a logo and you make it as big as and you make it almost as big as your text branding, it offsets the whole thing, or it occupies so much space, right? They try to look, you could see they try to balance it out with the other with the lower portion of the watch. Look at this. They tried to balance it out. I guess that's one way of doing it. But to me, I would have preferred this to be smaller. Make it a little bit because in design, you actually make use of space. You don't want to just always occupy as many space as you want, like this space, that space, that space. Actually, that contributes to the to 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 your design, because the more space it has, the more that these other uh, objects in the dial would push in visually. It would actually make it uh, focused. And the contradiction of focus is, of course, undecisiveness or lack of focus. And we don't want that to happen with our. What happened to my. Let me just fix my camera really quick. It's self-adjusting. There we are. Now, if you lack focus in your design, it would make it appear that you didn't decide whether to have something or not. Like for example, it's like you're making it halfway. Like, oh, did you decide to like fill all of the gaps and then just quit halfway, or did you want to just like fill some of the gaps but then you overdid it? That's the problem with these dials. If they made this, let's actually make that. Look, let's try and improve that. Look at this, right? Let's remove that. And then let's remove this. Or maybe somehow, some way, you try and put all of those texts in here. Make it white. Make it white, right? All of those texts maybe here and here. And then it's kind of balanced out because now you have this space here. You see, you have this space, which is identical to this space, identical to this space. It's deliberate. It didn't look like, oh, you quit halfway in filling all of the gaps. All right? Or one way of doing it too. Here's another way of doing it. Let's put all of that. And then let's put all of them into the same color. Into the same color as the faux patina, right? And now there's a little bit more uniformity. That was I think that's my beef about the watch. At a design standpoint, dials really make or break your watch. I'm not saying that they did a bad job about it, and maybe the designer who made this is probably like tasked with, oh, the logo has to be there, Zurich 1958 needs to be there, all of these texts need to be there, because as a designer, when you're working for someone, that's always your enemy. Not all owners or people who commission you to do stuff or design stuff will truly understand the design language that you're trying to make. And of course, I mean, that's also a different per designer. But for me, that I would have done that in order to balance out the dial, you know. And that's why it's very valuable when you have like say for example Elshan of Zelos. Again, we're going back to Zelos here, is the first one to come in mind, because he himself can design things and he's the owner. He has the liberty to do stuff. FP Jorn can design things. He's actually the one making the watches, so he has a solid grip of his style. But when you're being tasked or being commissioned by someone who has the money, hey, make a design for me, it's always a battle. Most of the time, if not all the time, it's always a battle on whether to say to the person who commissioned you, look, what you want doesn't work. Sometimes you have to compromise, and that's what the Navichron looked to me. At some point, the designer had to make compromise in order to have those design elements in there. And of course, you have like those big pushers. That's I've never seen those that big. Well, maybe this side of an Invicta. I'm not saying that that's bad, but that's the design language of that watch. Actually, if you look back, let's look back at the table. I just noticed that if you look at that, those pushers actually align. You see that? It actually aligns. Oops, that's bad drawing. What am I doing? It actually aligns with each other. There we are. I like that. I like that. So they made the pushers like their thickness uniform. You see? So they have the ability to make it uniform, but in some places they're not. So if they would have done that, or maybe if they would have pushed down the letters and the text a little bit downward, then maybe it would have worked better for me. Yeah. But that's my thing. It seems that the bezel designed that way with the loom dot at 4 to have both the GMT bezel with a diving bezel, signaling the 20 minutes timer. Okay, so what's with the 20 minutes then? Okay. Well, I have to read up on it. There must be something interesting behind that. Otherwise, they won't put it in the a loom plot there for some reason, you know. Very well proportioned now, much better. Thank you, Thomas Vernet. Okay. The pushers seem to be 50 atmosphere resistant. Oh, really? That's nice. Oh, that's good. Yeah, it kind of works. But I've seen better design from Ollech. What? How is it pronounced? Ollech and Wajs or Ways? Ollech and Ways. I've seen others better watches from them. I think I mentioned that before in one of my videos. Okay, and they have 4 gaskets. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me in this successful stream. We didn't have any technical issues this time around, and we had quite a few viewers. Thank you so much for hanging in there with me. We had some difficulties with pulling up some images. Oh, Junior Johnson was here. Thank you for supporting the stream, Junior Johnson. You were there also last time. Thank you so much. And okay, let me see who else. All right, that's everyone. Oh, Mark P was here. Could only join at the end, but we'll watch later. Okay, well, you're here. That's what matters. And thank you so much for supporting the stream. And hopefully we can get something that's regular. I'm still trying to um, grasp this format and maybe a better background altogether. But we wanted to test it out a little bit. We've done this the second time. The first time around, it was a disaster. Like what I said to Dane, it was a disaster before it even happened. It actually became a disaster because of the buffering issue. But this time around, it went flawless. I like that. And tune in next time. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. If you want your comments to be featured in the live stream, just comment and I'll pick out the things that are interesting to talk about. And hopefully we can do this at a weekly basis and add more content to the channel, not just something that I could like edit from afar. It's something that's more relatable. I wanted to interact with all of you as much as possible. I'm not the best speaker out there, but hopefully what I could show is something that would be not just entertaining, but insightful regarding watch design. So thank you so much for supporting the stream, and we'll see you again next time. Take care.